time for a little Monday Night NASCAR as we have some NASCAR 07 Busch Series racing at the Bristol Motor Speedway, my favorite racetrack under the lights. Full race, 250 laps, 4 races to go on our custom schedule season. And I put in the community tab a little bit ago that we were going to finish up this custom schedule season this week on the channel, whether that would be Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday. Yet to be determined. It depends how many more races we have left on this season. Now, we're scheduled to have 4 more, but that could change considering that we could get knocked out of championship contention or race early by way of how the points look right now. And you can look at the point standings up on the top of the screen. I'll actually adjust that real quick so it's a little bit more clear for you guys. There we go. Should be a little bit better now. But yeah, we'll see how this is going to go. Still have to qualify. No practice. I'm just going to jump into it. I mean, it's going to take a miracle to win the championship at this point anyway, so we got to hope for the best. We got to continue to just run and win out, I guess. We've won back-to-back races coming in, so far we've done our job, and we had a max points day at New Hampshire in the last race, which took place on Saturday night, where in that race we did lead the most laps, along with winning, so gonna have to do that on a continuous basis on top of hopefully making Tony Stewart not lead any laps. Finished second at Bristol in the first race here earlier this season. This car feels like it's all over the place. Ugh. Yeah, this isn't a good lap. I have not hit my marks whatsoever. Cars moving everywhere. Third, better on lap 2. I got the wall up turn 4 on the first lap, so I imagine lap 2 was going to be better. And sure enough, Tony Stewart's on the pole. So there we go. Muted. What's muted? The game? Now the game's not muted. I think I have the sound down a little too low. That might be the problem. I'll put it there. We get more cars on the racetrack, it'll be a little bit louder. Smelly Green Bay. My favorite restaurant, Chili's. You know, I'm not going to lie, I can't even tell you the last time I was at Chili's. I've definitely eaten at a Chili's before, but it's not somewhere I've gone out of choice, I guess we'll say. And as I have a fly in my room, that's nice. That's going to be bothering me all night. All right, here we go. Let's get this thing started. Got to try to get the lead from Stewart as quickly as we can. I didn't make any adjustments from qualifying to the race, so I really hope I get in a rhythm here. Not a clean start for Johnson going up the track. Lap 1, turn 1. Trying to get back into that bottom lane, and Johnson's going to be able to do so behind Paul Menard. So 1 spot lost on the initial start. Tony Stewart leads the first lap. And again, it is going to be very tough to dethrone him for this championship, but we're going to do our best. Want to at least get to Daytona with a chance. Can we finish second at Bristol earlier this season? Kenny Wallace won that race. You see Kenny in the 3rd place position. He started in 4th, I believe. I think I'll get used to the handling of this car when I get like 20 plus laps in. Not running practice is the reason why I'm all over the place. It does feel a little tight though. I might have to loosen it up a bit. If you see it going up the racetrack, it's because it's really tight on entrance. Trying to back the corner entry up enough. That was a little bit better. There's a lot more forgiveness on the apron here at Old Bristol on this game. So I can kind of get the left sides on it a little bit. It kind of hooks. This thing is just way too tight. Just bobbing and weaving. Kenny Wallace to second, getting by Kurt Busch in the 39. Jimmy Johnson follows Wallace and gets to third on his own. Kenny might be the one to beat here. He's trying to go for the Bristol sweep. He's closing on Stewart pretty quickly. Gap me that last lap. There he goes. Wow, Kenny Wallace looking for the lead. Couldn't get underneath Stewart off turn 2 that time. Stewart went a little wide and definitely left the door open, but shut it quick enough that Wallace couldn't get out in front. As Stewart has led the first 10 laps from the pole now. And we know these laps go by quickly here at Bristol. Wallace again trying to go for it, and he moves Tony Stewart up out of the way. Bump and run by Kenny Wallace as he tries to go for the lead. Johnson trying to follow the 22. Leans on Stewart. Definitely wasn't going to give that 33 car a lot of room, and just like that, Wallace out in front. Johnson overdrives the entry to turn 3. And Wallace was able to hold on because of that overdrive by Johnson. Johnson again to the inside, trying to make the clean pass this time, and he does. Jimmy Johnson leads at Bristol after qualifying third. Took 13 laps to get to the front. Stewart quickly back into second, so 5 bonus points for the 48. A 33 car in line behind us has led the first 10 or 11 laps before Wallace was able to lead for about 2 or 3, and here we are. Hopefully clean air makes this thing handle better, but I don't think it's going to. Should take a little bit of the tightness out of it, you would imagine. As long as I don't get up too much of the bottom and allow Stewart to get underneath me, I'm all right. I mean, he's already got 5 bonus points, so now we're just trying to, make sure we get the 10 and not him. And again, we're going to need some help. He's going to have to DNF at least one time for us to have a chance to win this championship this season. Either that or 2 just really terrible finishes. Left a lot of bottom open that time through 3 and 4. Stewart closes the gap. Trying to get to the back bumper of the 48. Can't do it quite yet. Cameron Chizo, Wade Zielinski, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are the first here in the chat. Beautiful paint scheme on Jimmy's car. Always a huge fan of it. Yeah, that classic Lowe's paint scheme in those mid-2000 years, early 2000 years. Definitely great. I have that die cast, actually. I think it's the one I have. I think it's from 2005, which was just before he won any NASCAR Cup championships, but definitely a contender from really his rookie season on. My personal favorite Jimmy Johnson scheme was his Pride of America scheme he ran in the 2003 Coke 600. I think he might have ran the same scheme in 04 as well, but yeah, that red, white, and blue scheme in particular, that's the one that's my favorite of his. I also have that die cast of a 124 scale too. I just have to deal with the car being tight and just hope it doesn't get worse when we get really deep into this run. And just like at New Hampshire, it's going to be anywhere between a 1 to a 2 pit stop race today. Got to make it to lap 125 on the first fuel run to ensure that this race is going to be made on 1 pit stop. That last race at New Hampshire, if you remember, it was going to be a 2-stop race. Ended up being 3 because we had a caution with about 15 laps to go, which forced our hand to have to come in and take fresh tires, so we weren't going to be on old tires in front of the field at the end of the race because of short pitting, to try to ensure we were going to stay on the lead lap in case we got a yellow, which it's a great thing that I did what I did there and ended up playing out all right. We ended up getting the win. A lot closer than what it needed to be after leading 181 of 200 laps, but still got the job done at the end of it when it mattered the most. Johnson that had that little wall scrape off turn 2 a couple laps ago. Laps, again, click by quickly. So 250 laps at Bristol, not a long race by any means. This Busch Series race is a lot shorter than Cup races anyway, but especially today. And the pressure's on early.
Number 33, just got a run on you.
Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in this race here today. Still clean air for Johnson. I think the big thing with how tight this car is am I going to navigate through lap traffic successfully? Because I might be ruffling a lot of feathers out there. I really like this thing to stay green as long as possible, at least out of the start here. Stewart looking low. Johnson didn't give up enough on the bottom to allow Stewart to get under there. A little bit of a defensive line now into turn 3. Stewart's just hanging on that left rear corner panel, and he probably won't be afraid to use the bumper if he can get close enough to the 48. Hasn't been able to do so, and now Stewart went up the track and won it too as he overdrove that side of the track. So Johnson's led the most here in the very early going. Oh boy, I chopped that off way too early. Stewart made a mistake in that corner a couple laps ago. I did that lap, gave it back. Now I did it again. 2 laps in a row. Back in a rhythm here. Mr. Fulton Raz, thanks for tuning in also. Celebrating your birthday all week. That's something. I can't say I've ever done that before. I don't even celebrate it on my day half the time. Especially nowadays. Big block on Stewart there, a little bit of contact. Got to make sure not to turn ourselves in this situation too. Jimmy shut the door tightly on Tony Stewart. Really don't want him getting back out in front if necessary. I'm hoping it'll be like New Hampshire when I could pull away in lap traffic, because I really couldn't get more than a half a second lead until we got the lap traffic. Then I really started to put some distance between me and second place there. We'll see if that'll be the case here. Lost those couple car lengths right off the contact from a few laps ago, and he hasn't really gotten it back yet. Oh, Kyle Busch has a problem. Busch is blowing an engine, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3rd race in a row. Actually, really, if you count my DNFs, this is the 5th race in a row a Hendrick Motorsport car has DNF'd. And the driver who sits 2nd in the point standings is the one who DNFs tonight. That's going to give Tony Stewart an even bigger points lead if he can just finish this race. And that should get Johnson to P2 in the standings if he could finish it off as well here tonight. It was going to be close to catching Busch in the standings without a DNF for him. Honestly, I think we could have done it these last 4 races if we, would beat him by a few positions every race. But now we don't have to worry about that, so 2nd place in the point standings should be locked up as long as we just keep finishing races the rest of the season. But now, obviously, the big picture, trying to win the championship, we'll see if it will be possible for this 48 team. They just dropped their quickest lap of the race that last time by, 45 laps in. 42? I know I look older for my age. I don't look that old. I don't have any grays yet. I'd imagine when I'm 42, I probably would. Probably well before that, if I had to guess. Not that I'm the kind of guy that tries to stress myself out a ton. Lap 50 already. Again, Stewart's only been limited to leading about 10, 11 laps in this race. Johnson took the lead at lap 13. Kenny Wallace led for a couple. So as of right now, we are currently sitting at 2 lead changes through these first 50 laps tonight at Bristol, but still 200 to go. A lot of time left. Stewart looking low underneath Johnson. Johnson trying to hold on to the outside. A little bit of contact. We'll bump and run. Oh boy, hang on. I don't think he liked that either. Stewart out in front now. Couple mistakes there by Johnson. Stewart gets to the lead. Getting away from this 33 just a little bit. I'm not sure where Busch was running at the time of his engine failure, but he is the first driver out, so if he does not return to the racetrack, he will end up finishing last place with no laps led today, getting the least amount of points you possibly can in a single race. Again, 3 races to go in the championship standings after today. Lap cars right in front of the race leaders. 55 laps in to get to them. And there is a long line of lap cars. I mean, this is as dense of lap traffic as you can have at Bristol Motor Speedway. Johnson trying to use them as a pick. Stewart body slams Jimmy. Jimmy gets to the lead. That hurt Stewart way worse than it hurt the 48. And so now Johnson's out in front. Clears the first lapper of Casey Mears. Really got to focus on not letting this car get too tight, even though it is on the tighter side of things. Trying to make clean passes. So just ran my fastest lap in the midst of lap traffic somehow there. Got the 15.307 that last lap. Stewart struggling to get by John Andretti. 2 lappers in the rearview mirror for the 48 car already. Looking to put Jeff Burton a lap down next. JJ Yaley just up ahead and a fantasy driver down to the outside of this 48 car. Johnson squeezes there. 15.228 that last lap. Getting through lap traffic quicker than Stewart. That was a story when these two ran 1-2 for most of the day at New Hampshire as well. Stewart ended up finishing third to, what was that, Aaron Crocker who finished second? Who finished second at New Hampshire? I know somebody got by Stewart in the closing laps. Actually, it was Busch. No, it was Busch because it was a 1-2 finish for HMS. We make it to lap 75 before we get the halfway out of gas marker. Then that means we can make this race on just 1 pit stop. 15.257. It's amazing. Even in lap traffic, I'm running very quick lap times, quickest laps of the day. 3 times now we've set our fastest lap of the race in lap traffic. Tony Stewart at least 3 lap cars between himself and the 48. Johnson's trying to build the gap. Tim Brown, thanks for tuning in. Mark Martin's your guy. Well, you'll be glad to hear me say that I'm going to finish up that Mark Martin season on NASCAR 07 next. I was in the middle of a Cup season, but I wanted to get the Busch season out of the way here first before I go back to that. Working on trying to get Mark Martin his first career Cup title. And it's in his last year in the 6 car nonetheless, so. Got a points lead right now. Hopefully he can hang on to it. Got to work at the task at hand first, and that's winning this championship. Which again is not going to be easy if you see the points deficit up at the top of the screen. 348 points back. We were 398 points back 2 races ago, so we have eaten into that lead a little bit. But that's in 2 races we've gained about 50 points. Or sorry, we were 388 back because we gained 20 and 20. So we've only gained 20 points each of the last 2 races. And it was 388. Had way too much of the apron there. I was way out of the gas because of it, because I felt if I tried to power back into the throttle, it was just going to slide on me. Really trying not to let that happen. Lost a lot of ground to those cars up in front of me. Can't believe you're watching this. Is it because I'm racing as Jimmy? By the way, I just hit halfway out of gas right before lap 75, so it looks like we're going to be in a similar circumstance as what we had at New Hampshire, where it's going to be a 2-stop race today. So a 2-stopper at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Four laps short on both sides of the run. So we're looking to be about 8 laps shy of making it to lap 125, which in return means we're about 16 laps short of being able to make this race on 1 stop. That's gonna, I mean, that's almost impossible to save with no caution. So we're just gonna do the same thing we did, and if we get a caution, we get a caution. Because it took until 15 to go before we had a yellow at New Hampshire for the first time, so maybe that'll be the case here today too, as we're still caution-free 78 laps in out of 250. Yeah, I'm going to need good luck. I appreciate that. I think I can win this race, but I mean, we're going to need a lot of luck if we're going to win this championship where we're at right now. First domino has fallen, though. Kyle Busch blew an engine tonight, so we should jump a spot in the standings. Johnson just ran his quickest lap. That time it was a 15.229. We're only 80 laps in. 2 more pit stops still to go in this race, as we haven't had one yet, so can run this out obviously as long as we can. You don't want a short pit here. Go a couple laps down.
Number 126 wants to get by you.
Wow, Kurt Busch, who started up on the front row, he actually started 2nd place. About to go lap down. He's dropped pretty deep in the field then. He's probably running mid-pack right now and continues to drop as he goes a lap down. Of the Cup regulars, though, he hasn't won a race on this Busch Series season. And he's not in the top dozen in points either. Well, his brother Kyle Still trying to compete for a championship before the DNF tonight. We got another car on pit road actually right now as well that just blew an engine. They're on the front stretch pit area. Looks like it might be the 50 car of Danny O'Quinn Jr. I believe it was a car that looked similar to that in paint scheme at least. So if it wasn't him, may have been a fantasy driver or at least another blue or purplish car of some nature, but it looks like Danny O'Quinn Jr. in the 50, so. Got to mention last race commentary for a couple weeks. No, I didn't. Gotta stick around for the whole stream, man. No, I mentioned a couple times during the course of last night that we'll be streaming next weekend. Even out of the chance that I could go to Indy, it would only be for the Cup race on Sunday. And I'd be driving right back afterwards, so. Yeah. We would still have commentary Friday, Saturday, Friday truck race and Cup practice, Saturday, Cup qualifying and Xfinity race. Anyway, so. More details in the community tab will get closer to the weekend. I'll know for sure what's going on. Yeah, I said that. Cup practice Friday. Cup qualifying's on Saturday, though. It's because I got a full 50-minute practice session this week. Struggling to get by this next lap car. Tony Stewart's starting to catch up. No more lap cars between the top two in the running order anymore. And we're about 100 laps into this race. Half a second lead now. Yeah, I will be at the Michigan race. That's my home track, so definitely going to be there. It would only be for the Cup race, too, so kind of the same thing that weekend. I'll be doing live commentary for the Xfinity race still. Trucks will be off that weekend. But yeah, I'll have commentary for the Xfinity race, Cup practice qualifying. But there will be race highlight videos from the grandstands from wherever I'm sitting. So that'll be uploaded that night. Try to get it uploaded as soon as I can. Probably won't get home until a couple hours after the race that day, so tough to tell exactly when it'll get uploaded to YouTube by the time I edit everything. $62 laps. I didn't update it yet. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it is 62 laps because that is way too short of a race. They used to be 100, if I remember correctly. When the Xfinity Series would race at Indy, it used to be 100 laps because the first stage would usually be like 25, and 50, from my recollection. Because I've seen an Xfinity race there before, back in 2018. Or it might have been 2060, something like that. But I'm pretty sure it was 100 laps. Yeah, Michigan's a blast. They've had some pretty good crowds there the last couple of years, too. It's close and sentimental in my heart to go up there. I've been going up there every year since 2018. Both races in 18, both races in 19, and then 2020, obviously. They didn't have any fans in the stands for those races, but if I could have went, I would have. 21, they had one race. 22, 23, now 24, one race, but yeah. I was also there in 2015 for the August race. That was the first ever NASCAR race I was at. But, and the second race I was ever at was the 2018 spring race. And ever since then, haven't missed a Michigan race. For Cup, at least. I think it's just NASCAR.com. There's no way that race is only 62 laps. Like, I mean, that would get done in an hour. The truck race at Pocono was 70 laps last weekend. Same kind of racetrack. 2.5 miles. Actually makes slightly better lap time at Indy than what you can at Pocono because it's like a perfect oval. 2 longer straightaways, and although there's 4 separate corners, there's not a lot of a lift point in turns 2 and 4. Darlington 2011. That was, so your first race you saw Regan Smith win. That's something very few people, and only people that were at that race can say, considering that was his only Cup one. That's a unique one to say the least. Darlington's awesome too. Oh, Johnson slowly pulling away from Stewart again. I mean, maybe there's a chance we can make it to lap 125. I'd like to. I didn't think it was going to be possible. From when we hit halfway out of gas, so maybe it is looking like a one-stop race after all. Still going to have to try to take this run as far as we can. I mean, if Tony Stewart's not going to DNF, I hope a caution comes out in the middle of green flag stops where he pits before me. Gets trapped a lap down and he's back in traffic. Granted, I mean, there's so many cars a lap down right now too, so he probably wouldn't even fall that far back in the field. But yeah, caution free, 116 laps in. These EA games, though, we tend to see cautions and green flag pit stops at Bristol a lot, so usually it's with cars exiting pit road as others are trying to enter with 2 separate pit road entries on the front straightaway, back straightaway. Yeah, we're definitely going to make it. There you go. Definitely going to make it past lap 125 now. Alright, so it is a one-stop race after all. Nobody's hit pit road yet, so everybody's looking like they're going to be able to make it on one pit stop in this short 250-lap race at Bristol. I did put up a poll in the chat before this race started as to how many laps I'm going to lead, and 40% of you say I'm going to lead 51 to 100 laps. Well, we've already led around 100 laps in this race, so it's not looking like that is going to be the answer to tonight's poll question. And I knew we were going to get close leading as many laps as we did at New Hampshire, but I wasn't sure exactly where I left off at from the race before that. But we have eclipsed 1,000 laps led on the season as of the New Hampshire race on Saturday night. We were 8 laps over 1,000, so 1,008 laps led on the season after New Hampshire. Largest lead of the day now for Johnson, about a little over 2 seconds ahead of Tony Stewart. As the top 2 at points as we run, with Kyle Busch blowing an engine, are 1 and 2 yet again. Another car just blowing up, the 148 down on the bottom of the racetrack. That'll be the end of the night for him. If Busch can make his way out here, he can at least get a couple points back by passing a few other cars that have also DNF'd with engine failures. We haven't had a caution, but 3 drivers are out of this race. Hamlin. What was that, the Xfinity race then? Where Hamlin won? 2011? I couldn't tell you who won that night. Yeah, that was the night Harvick and Busch got into it on pit road too. That's a wild first race to be at, let me tell you. Regan Smith wins, and you got a off-track altercation between Richard Childress, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick. Yeah, appreciate everybody hitting that like button too, by the way. Up to 11 right now on my screen. JJ Yeley going a second lap down. Casey Mears just in front of us, also lap down already. About to go 2 down. Still haven't seen anybody pit for the first time yet for green flag pit stops. Pit road speed limit is 70 miles per hour if we do have to make a green flag stop. There's the same for every track in this game. Really don't want to be the first one to pit road here just in case we get a yellow, but we are going to have to pit in about less than 10 laps at this point, so we are getting extremely close to pit stops here tonight at the Bristol Motor Speedway. We got a couple cautions at Bristol in our first go around here. Again, none yet through 137 laps. It's barely over 100 to go already. This thing's clicking by with no cautions, I will say. I mean, we've only been streaming for about 40 minutes, and I had qualifying on the stream before that, so a little over a half hour. We've completed over half the race. Dawson Fair, thanks for tuning in tonight. Definitely going to be a 4-tire stop when we pit. Obviously, with this being the same tires we had at the start of the night. Oh boy. Contact with Ron Hornaday up off turn 4. All good. 109 to the outside. John Andretti, I believe, is the next car up in front of Johnson. I'm going to pit at lap 143. And our pit stop is going to be on the front stretch here. And there's 2 separate pit entries. Bristol Motor Speedway, still like that today, of course. So I'll stay out this time. I'm going to pit the following lap. Still haven't seen anybody make a pit stop yet. And again, Johnson looking to be the first. And Jimmy Johnson has just clinched the most laps led already tonight before we get into our first and only pit stops of the race. So here comes JJ on to pit road, and now we just got to hope we cycle all the way through without a caution. 4 tires and gas, no adjustments for the 48. Car was tight, but honestly, just getting used to it, getting more laps in it. Staying good. I really hope we don't get a caution. We usually do at Bristol during green flag stops. I hate I'm the first car down here, but I didn't want to run out of gas, give up a 2.5 second lead. I mean, we should gain some time on him with short pitting too, as long as we, again, cycle through. Try to keep this championship alive. Unsure yet on that question, Dawson. If I do, it would only be on Sunday. That I know for a fact. But yeah, I'll definitely keep you posted in the community tab, and I'll know my answer by Friday. All right, so Johnson only really pitted a couple laps before everybody else. But we have more green flag pit stops going on. Tony Stewart's on pit road. And Mark Martin will now take the lead. So this is our 4th lead change of the race, with Martin back out in front. Or no, Stewart got the lead from me one other time, and then we got back around him. So this is our 6th lead change of the day. Definitely cycle out ahead of Tony Stewart. There he is. He's got to get up to speed yet. Jimmy Johnson already out ahead of him at least. Still a lap down though with Martin out ahead. Got a lot of pressure tires here for this 48 car, working around the lappers coming out of the pits. Just able to clear John Andretti. Ryan Vickers in the 57 on our outside. Got a mix of guys on old tires, fresh tires. Oh boy, this got checked up right in front of me. It's definitely where it gets a little wild. You gotta definitely keep an eye on the apron of the track. Cars coming up and out of the pits. Vickers pitting behind us now. Mark Martin still out on the racetrack. Little contact with that lapper that time. In 3 and 4. So we're up to 5th. Still a lap down with the 6th car on track. 100 laps to go at Bristol. Back in the gas way too soon there. I'm all over the place again. Cold tires or something? Probably me just getting out of a rhythm, having to pit for a little bit. Or it's just me, it's probably that. Probably me just starting to overdrive it again. Well, we're in 3rd. 2 more cars on the lead lap still have to pit. Mark Martin and somebody else, whoever's in 2nd. And sounds like 2nd place is on their way in on the back straightaway. So now Mark Martin's still the last car that has to hit pit road. Todd Kluver in the 06 getting a hit from behind there from Johnson as he was side by side with the 126 car. So during the midst of green flag pit stops, the question really is how far ahead did Jimmy Johnson pull away from Tony Stewart? We're not going to know that until we take the lead. Stewart should be in 2nd place still. So track temperature, oh god, I have no clue. I'm gonna say it's hot. Whatever it is, it's hot. Just because we've been green the entire time. Probably put a little heat in the track. I don't know if that actually makes any sense. It makes sense to me. Sun's not out though. We are at night. Alright, Martin finally pitting this time. On the back straightaway. Johnson back on the lead lap. It'll be our 7th lead change of the day when Jimmy takes the lead next time by at the start-finish line. Not sure where Martin was at in the running order before that. Bumper tag to the left rear corner panel of Harvick's race car. Yeah, so pitting a few laps before Tony Stewart, we have now cycled ahead of him by about 4.5 seconds. So this is the largest lead for Johnson today, as we have cycled through green flag pit stops for the only time tonight at Bristol. The only pit stop we had scheduled for this race, as we have less than 90 laps to go. We get a yellow, I'm definitely staying out of the pits. I'm not pitting like I did at New Hampshire. The only reason I did there is because I was going to be on older tires. I only pitted a couple laps before everybody. A couple laps at Bristol is not going to... It's not going to make really a difference here. It made a difference more for me because they were on over 100 lap older tires. I was able to make up that extra 2 seconds on Stewart because we had a 2.5 second lead before I pitted. Now it's 4.5. Had a clean pit stop too. Credit to the pit crew, of course. So, I mean, again, this is the third race in a row, assuming Johnson wins, that we're doing our job to try to cut into this points deficit, but Tony Stewart just keeps finishing second, third, fourth place behind us. We're not gaining any points. He finished third at Watkins Glen. He finished fourth the race before that, and he's running second tonight. Like, I mean, we're not gaining a whole lot on him when we have just this gigantic deficit. Obviously, it was going to take a DNF anyway, but it was going to take some other poor runs on top of a DNF to catch him. You can only score a little over 150 points in one race. There is a chance he can clinch the title 2 races early, but the way I'm running right now, and the tracks we have left, I know I can be a contender for the win at Richmond and Phoenix at least. Daytona is going to be iffy, but when we go out and win those races, we should at least have a chance to win the title in a couple races from now. Or, I mean, we have a chance mathematically, of course. Should have went in more detail there. Alright, 80 laps to go. I'm going to have to pause it real quick on the back straightaway. I got to get this laptop on a charger before it dies on me midstream. Where's my battery life at right now? 8%. Yeah, we got to get this on a charger. I'll be right back. Give me like 30 seconds. Maybe less. You can time me if you want. I don't know if anybody was actually timing me or not there. Probably took the length of like 2 or 3 laps at Bristol is probably about how long it took me. 30 to 45 seconds. Hurry. Oh yeah, that's right. The home run derbies tonight. That's right. I'm probably not going to watch it. I'll probably be watching Monday Night Raw instead. Been pretty consistent with at least watching the first couple hours of it, then kind of catching up on the highlights if I don't watch the whole thing. It's tough because I work tomorrow. Like, SmackDown's a lot easier for me to watch because I don't work Saturdays. And even if I have a morning stream, I can get everything ready the night before. 1 minute, so 4 Bristol laps it took me. So when we get to 4 laps to go in this race, we'll know that race could have been done at that point. Who do I have for the home run derby? I don't even know much about all those guys. The only guys I really know about there are Bobby Witt Jr., Alec Bohm, because I do this game on the MLB app where you have to try to beat Joe DiMaggio's hit streak by taking a guy to get a hit. And your goal is to try to get to 57, because the hit streak is 56, so you're trying to break that. And I'm taking Bohm and Bobby Witt Jr. quite a bit on there because they get hits a lot. They get a lot of hits. Bohm was slumping there for a little bit, though, right before the All-Star break. Bobby Witt wasn't. But Bohm's not a home run hitter, so I'm kind of surprised he's in it. He's only got a handful of home runs this season. I don't even think he's had double digits. Am I right in saying that? I haven't looked at his home run numbers much this year, but I'm pretty sure he's got single-digit home runs. Bobby Witt's probably got more than that. Those guys definitely are more guys that have speed, hit for average, than power hitters. Gunnar Henderson, yeah, he plays for Baltimore. I know the names of those players that you listed. I just don't know much about them, like statistically, or how much of a power hitter they are. I just know them by name. Duelis Garcia is a power hitter. I know. He was in the home run derby when I watched it a couple years ago. Maybe even last year. Might have been last year he was in it. 11 home runs per bump. Okay, so I guess he does have double digits. He's got more than I thought he did. It's still not a lot, though, considering he's in the home run derby. Oh, boy. Way too much of the apron there. Got really loose. Transition from the banking to the flat, back to the banking. It's the back to the banking part that got me more than anything. Stewart's narrowed the gap down just a little bit. And again, it was about a 4.5 second lead when green flag pit stops cycled through. The lead's at about 3.9 seconds. It's going to fluctuate quite a bit between that 3 to 4 second mark, just depending on who's in lap traffic and who isn't. We've clearly got the quickest car in the field. It's just a matter of trying to navigate the lap traffic better than him, and I'm really hoping we just stay green and don't have to worry about him being on my back bumper the rest of the race. So it's a lot to ask, though, considering it's Bristol Motor Speedway. The chances of going caution-free aren't very likely, but when you consider the fact we've gone 185 laps caution-free already, it could be possible. I think Elliott Sadler's about to take a swing at me there. It looked like it. I didn't even think he was a rival. He did pop the wall off turn 2, so I was able to clear him pretty quickly. Probably quicker than I would have. Really don't want him to get under me if he's going to try to take a swing at me. I really hope he doesn't turn me right now either. That'd be a douche move if he just turned me while I'm leading in dominant fashion for the second race in a row. Man, if we just didn't... really, the story of those 3 DNFs in a row a few races ago just absolutely killed us in the standings. We'd be second in points again. You'd have to assume Tony Stewart's going to blow a motor. He did at Dega, however many races ago that was now. I think that was, like race 22 or 23, so... You'd imagine he's going to get here. Your first NASCAR race is the 2000 Daytona 500. You know what? I hope you've been back to the Daytona 500 since then, because that was probably the worst Daytona 500 in history. But honestly, you probably enjoyed it because there is a lot of pageantry that goes with that race. And, people are probably still, when it comes down to those final 20 laps after being there before in person, just as excited no matter how good the racing's been the entire time. Definitely feel the prestige being there in person. Thanks for tuning in tonight again, Derek. Yeah, I saw they had another walk-off yesterday. I didn't watch the highlights or anything yet. I don't think anything they do the rest of the season is going to top what they did on Saturday, though. But yeah, the fact they were able to do that twice against the Dodgers. And the one game they lost was only by 1 run, too. They played them good. They won 8 out of their last 10 before the All-Star break. Am I right on that? Just stinks that they got hot, like, and now they got a week off. Nearly that. Really wish that wasn't the case. Yeah, I saw his Winfield Perez. I read the headline. It was on a bunt too. Suicide squeeze or something. It's hard to believe too. The only game they lost, at least of the Dodgers series, was when Scooble was pitching. Like, you would have thought going into the series that would be the only one we would have had a chance of winning. The other way around. Dodgers were slumping though ever since they lost Mookie Betts, from what I've heard. So maybe I could have predicted a tighter series than that. I guess baseball's weird. Baseball's probably the hardest sport to predict, in my opinion. Even when you think you have it narrowed down. I feel like more often than not, when I think the Tigers are going to win, they lose. And when I think they're going to lose, they end up winning. The big thing for them, primarily against Cleveland and Los Angeles, though, is their bats came to life. Like, they haven't looked that good on offense for a 2-game series set all season. Like, there might be a series here and there. They might go off, and then they just cool right off again. But they did that twice. And again, it just hurts that they were really heating up offensively. They were winning games. Pitching was still solid, and then solid enough at least to get the wins when we had them. Struggled in certain aspects on Saturday, but they still won. That's all that matters at the end. But yeah, then they have the time off now. At the duels in 0-1. Yeah, that package was wild for sure. I watched a bunch shootout from that season, and I was like, wow, this is... I mean, even the 2001 Daytona 500 was, like, really good up until, of course, what unfortunately happened on the last lap. But, I mean, it was setting up to be one of the, better Daytona 500s of all time before that, though. On top of the, storybook ending with Mikey winning and Darrell calling the race in his first race. Again, it's just the tragedy that happened in turn 3 that triumphs everything there, unfortunately. I'm glad Mikey was able to win another one a couple years later, though. That wasn't his only Daytona 500 win. Yeah, Truex is a rival, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of scared to pass him. Got a 4.9 second lead, largest of the day, 41 laps to go. I'm honestly not even going to try to pass this 8 car if I don't have to. I don't want to take any risk of him wrecking me. If he passes anybody, I'm going to try to just go around him. We got over a 5-second lead right now. No incentive to have to lap him. Now running in points against him. I know why he's upset with me. He came out of green flag pit stops at one point in New Hampshire. I accidentally right rear hooked him. I was trying to let him go when he came out of the pits and dive in line behind him. I misjudged how slow he was actually going still, and I hooked him into the wall. Fortunately, it's not what caused the caution, but that's why he's upset with me, so he's got every right to be. I misjudged that terribly. Got the shootout in 0-2. I really don't know that race too well. A lot of the shootouts from like the early 2000s, I probably either didn't watch or maybe because it's an exhibition race, I don't remember it that fondly, but I feel like I remember the All-Star races really well. So I don't know. '11 trucks at Daytona. Yeah, that was... I don't know how many career truck races Michael Waltrip ran. I know it's probably not many. The only one I ever remember him running was that one. And Darrell Waltrip was in the booth filling in for him because Michael was on commentary the whole season, but because he was running that race, he wasn't on commentary, so... Yeah, last lap pass too. Photo finish. Yeah, that one I remember really well. On the outside, he got around him too. Stewart's still not really closing that gap at all. If anything, Johnson's still pulling away. So yeah, there's no major incentive to try to get by that 8 car of Truex. It's actually a couple cars ahead of us now. We've definitely backed it down quite a bit. Don't want to accidentally cause a caution in any way either. Another reason why I don't want to pass the 8. Really need this to stay green. And our only caution at New Hampshire came in the final 15 laps of the race. Set up a 9-lap shootout to the checker. We're caution free through 220 laps this time by. We'll have 31 to go at the line. Around this short half-mile oval. Like he ran the 47 truck in 2005 for a bit. Yeah, that I don't remember. I never really... So growing up, I don't remember watching much of the Truck and Xfinity series. It was pretty much Cup only up until like the 2010s. I didn't want to... Really didn't want that. Yep. I was afraid of that. Luckily, that's all it was. He got out of shape off turn 4, so I figured, I'm like, well, maybe I can get around him quick. Nope. I knew that was coming. Take care of it. 28 to go. By the way, if we had a caution-free Bristol race for over 200 laps, I feel like these drivers would get nauseous. It's a lot of centrifugal force they're having to deal with for a long period of time. I guess they had a little cool down at the green flag pit stop, so that was only for like a good 15 seconds at the most it got to cool down. Maybe the whole length of pit road, it was closer to 40 seconds or so, but that was about it. Denny Hamlin getting to the inside, a little contact there. I went wide and I kind of chopped him off. There you go. I'll let him go. I don't want to run the outside and ruin my race. I was up there for a brief moment earlier on that initial start. I felt pretty loose up there, so I remember that. The minute I got a couple cars underneath me, let them both go. Drop in line behind him. The 5.2 second lead only dropped to about 3.9. We still have 24 laps to go, but it's not a lot of time here at Bristol. It's only about 6 minutes, so hold on for the next handful of minutes. And Jimmy Johnson will win 3 races in a row late in the season, which is huge. But Tony Stewart, again, unfortunately still in the race and more than likely still in second place. Johnson will get a max points day for the second day in a row, as he has well led the most laps. The voting poll, 33% of you have me leading 51 to 100 laps. We've led way more than that. And it's definitely going to be in the echelon of leading over 151. Probably going to end up leading over 200. I don't know how many laps Martin led during green flag pit stops because he stayed out for quite a while. I don't know if it was more than Stewart or not. Stewart led for at least 10. And Kenny Wallace led for a few. Stewart did pass me at one point earlier in lap traffic too, so he probably led about a dozen or more laps, if I had to guess. All right, 18 to go at the line for Johnson.
Going outside. Still there.
3.6-second lead still, getting by Todd Kluver.
Clear, clear.
Truex a few cars ahead of us now.
One's up high.
Johnson to lap Kurt Busch yet again. Fastest lap of the day, 15.195. Fastest lap with 16 to go. Those tires are about 80 laps old too, so I don't know how I did that. In traffic. The heaviest we saw lap traffic was that first initial bunch that we got to just after lap 50 early in the race. It hasn't been that dense really ever since. Obviously, we've been dealing with it ever since, but not to that extent. That's kind of the start of how we were able to pull away from Stewart. And got to within a half a second again at one point when it cleared out a bit, but the minute we got back into more lap traffic, we extended the lead to 2.5 seconds before green flag stops. Post green flag pit stops, it was at 4.5, and it's only been down to about 3.2, 3.3 seconds at one point in time since green flag pit stops finished up with about a little less than 90 to go. And right now it's 4.3. It's been as much as about 5.2, 5.3. So Johnson set sail.
Just hold your line. Starting to feel comfortable racing with you. You're clear.
11 to go. Get a caution. We would have
Go outside.
single file restart like we did at New Hampshire. No lap cars on the bottom because we would restart with less than 10 laps to go.
Hey, I think you're starting to warm up to us a little.
10 to go at the line.
Both sides clear. One stay outside. Number 18, making his move.
Tell you what, Truex might be the quickest car on the track. He really hit another gear. Got alongside him that one time. He body checked us, then kind of pulled away from us ever since. I'm glad I'm not racing him for the win. Not sure where he qualified. I would imagine that's probably hurt him. When you have a caution-free race at Bristol, if you don't qualify in the top 5, you're probably not going to win. We started in 3rd place tonight. Going to lead the most laps. Only took us 13 laps to get to the lead the first time. We've led 3 different times total. 4.5 second lead still. Over again, assuming Tony Stewart's in 2nd. Cup champion pick. Oh man, I almost want to say Christopher Bell. He's been so good at the flat tracks this season. Them and Ford. And Ford's won the last 2 titles because of that. Like Phoenix being the finale really helps Ford. Even though Toyota dominated that race earlier this season, Fords have come into their own on the flat tracks again. They were just sluggish at the start of the year all around. I think it was a big issue there. You know, we go back to Richmond and Ford runs well again there. As well as Christopher Bell.
Number 138. Just looking to pass on the high side.
I would have to say Bell and then a Penske car. And honestly, Blaney's the only Penske car that looks championship ready. Logano's had good runs here and there, but not to the consistency Blaney's had. I'd say Blaney and Bell are probably the championship favorites right now, honestly. I'd probably go Bell P1 and then Blaney P2. They got to get to Phoenix first. That's the big thing. But they're both looking really hot at other tracks other than those. You know, Blaney winning at Pocono this weekend, for example. All right, final lap of the race. As the white flag is in the air, we're going to have a caution-free Busch race at Bristol. All 250 laps yellow-free. Jimmy Johnson going to win it by over 4 seconds. There we go. Only 7 cars finished on the lead lap. Surprised it was that many, honestly. Bell, Blaney, Larson, Hamlin, final four. Yeah, honestly, I'd probably agree with you on that. Chase Elliott, I would probably say, is the closest one on that list to making it that you don't have. Like, if Larson doesn't make it, I would have Chase in there, but he's just so consistent, which is going to be crucial when the playoffs come around. He's had one finish outside the top 20 all year. He had another top 10 this weekend, even with a speeding penalty, with just percent. Second was 0 to 50 laps at 28%. 17% said 101 to 150. So fairly even poll for the most part, all things considered, between the four voting options. But you guys were wrong. 18 votes were casted. 250, I would vomit. Yeah, Noah Gragson be vomiting. He vomited after like a 100-lap green flag run at Bristol at the end of the race when he won there a couple years ago. I couldn't imagine him trying to go a couple hundred. Pressure packed situation. It wasn't really pressure packed though in the second half. Really, it wasn't pressure packed at all until we got to about like lap 90, lap 100. We really started setting sail after that. 1 hour, 4 minutes, 38 seconds total time of the race. That's it. So if you ever wondered if an Xfinity race were ever to go caution-free at Bristol, if they decide to get rid of stage cautions, there you have it. About 1 hour and 4 minutes is about how long it would take. That's just insane. One pit stop. Again, 7 lead changes, no cautions. And that lead change is accurate also. I was keeping track throughout the race. Because usually it isn't, but yeah, that was accurate. 4.6 second margin of victory. Again, 123.67 mile per hour average race speed. And once more, 215 laps led for Johnson. That gives us over 1,200 laps led on the season. 19 laps led for Tony Stewart, 14 for Mark Martin. They finished second, third. Aaron Crocker didn't lead any, finishing fifth. Matt Kenseth rounds out the top 5 in fifth. Mark Truex Jr. sixth. Kenny Wallace, last car in the lead lap with 2 laps led, finishing 7th after starting in 4th. Elliott Sadler, first car lap down, finishing in 8th. Our teammate Brian Vickers ended up 9th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounds out the top 10. And no laps led for Junebug. I think only 3 engine failures for DNFs. Kyle Busch, who was the first. It was Danny O'Quinn Jr., who I thought I saw at lap 84. Lap 126, fantasy driver by the name of Powell. Last name by the name of Powell. Also DNF. So those are the 3, and they were all in the first half of the race. Now, we'll take a look at the point standings. I didn't gain much. Stewart finishing second. I do have the volume muted. Circuit City 250 at Richmond, 250 lapper there. That'll be the next race. 250 laps at Richmond if it went caution-free again. Would take as quickly as it did tonight, but it would still be pretty quick. Of course, that being an extra quarter mile longer of a track, lap time's going to take closer to about 20-plus seconds instead of 15. And we are second in points now with Kyle Busch blowing an engine tonight. We have a 99-point cushion over Busch, but unfortunately we're still 333 behind Tony Stewart. So 3 races ago, I was 388 back. Tony Stewart in those races finished 4th, 3rd, 2nd. And he led laps in every race. He actually led the most laps in the race he finished 4th, which was at Watkins Glen. So he got the most laps led there, even though we won. So yeah, three race wins in a row. I gained 20 points, and 15 on him. So that's it. That's insane. We're going to need a DNF out of him to win the championship. We win these next 2 races, we should at least have a mathematical chance going. Well, really, I guess it depends on the next race. There is a chance he can clinch the title tomorrow night. And then we wouldn't be streaming the Busch Series Wednesday and Thursday. If he doesn't DNF at all, he's going to clinch it before Daytona. But is it going to be 1 or 2 races early? Obviously, he extends his points lead tonight, which was 291 points coming in. Now it's 333 with Busch blowing an engine. So, yeah, Stewart just continues to obliterate the standings here. Over a 1,000-point lead over Aaron Crocker in 6th. It's almost 1,000 points to Yaley in 5th. Wild. They ran every race, even being Cup regulars. All right, that's going to wrap up tonight's stream. Be sure to hit the like button. Again, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe for more NASCAR content. I will see you guys tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern, same start time. Richmond. See if we can go for 4 wins in a row. We got 3 in a row after tonight. Let's go for 4. All right, gonna end stream now. Have a good one, everybody.